Ways to transition without taking HRT. It's very common for transition to be viewed as a very medical thing, and a lot of people do, but that's not what transition is, or even has to be, right? There's various components of things and ways to get your transition started without HRT. So I'd like you to take a journey with me on a guide on how to transition before HRT. Now, this video won't assume whether you will take HRT or not eventually. It's up to you. And this video is welcome to trans people, femboys, what have you. If you feel like you can get something out of knowing how to be more girly without HRT, then you've come to the right place, my friend. Now, background. I didn't get HRT until I was about 21, but I socially transitioned since I was 12. So I'm gonna view myself as kind of qualified for this topic, as I did a lot of things before I turned 21. So let me highlight some various things I did to feel like I was getting my transition off the ground without HRT. Now, something that you can do pretty much in every stage is clothes. Now, clothes are a bit hard to obtain. I find obtaining them is harder than actually wearing them. Once you have them, but how do you get them discreetly? Well, I have a video about that, but the short version is that you can either, if you have access to PO boxes, you can set up a PO box, or you can get your friends at school, if you have someone trusting, to sneak clothes in for you. You can send clothes to a friend's house, you can make sure everything's packed discreetly and send it to your own house, or you can buy it in a physical store. I guarantee you, in pretty much everywhere in the world, no one really cares. So in Australian stores, I've never had any issue walking into girls' clothes stores, and like while presenting masks and buying them, I never had an issue. Nothing ever came up. Most I ever got was a Target changing room area that didn't let me use the changing room, but they let me buy the clothes. So that happened once in a decade of doing this. And the person running the store was very old. So just know it's very varied of an experience. I even tried while wearing boys' clothes in Japan, in a tiny town, to buy girls' clothes, and I had no issue. So just keep in mind that most places in the world, no issue. Now, the fun part is once you get the clothes, you gotta figure out how to arrange the clothes and make them a nice outfit together. Today's outfit, for example, I have a pink top with a black skirt. And those colors work together pretty well. I'll probably do a full video about fashion arrangements someday, because I think the previous video I did about it is a bit outdated now. Now that you have that, you have clothes. Wigs are great ways to get a feel for presenting femme, but if you want to like start your transition, right? You can grow your hair or use hair extensions, or you can just wear wigs full time until it grows. It's really up to you. I opted for wearing wigs until my hair grew out. If you're worried about your hair growing out, chances are no one's really going to think that much about it. If you're watching a lot of trans videos and engaging with trans culture, you're really going to feel a sense that people are just aware of these things. Even if you wear the most stereotypically trans outfit, which is probably like some black skirt and a cute top, cis people don't really view that as like a trans thing, because in a good way and a bad way, cis people aren't very aware of our experience. Like even remotely. So just bear in mind that most trans things you'll engage with, cis people aren't really on the wiser. Like, it's not really the early 2000s anymore where long hair equals girl. Lots of men present with very long hair. Lots of very manly men, I might add. So it won't really be a giveaway for you. And if you need an excuse to shave legs, you can say you're a swimmer. But granted, I don't think people really care anymore. I found less and less I got asked how my legs were shaved as school went on back then, so maybe that's not really a problem anymore. Now there's some little things you can do to make transition a bit easier later. These are very exciting little things. It just makes stuff easier later. So if it's taking a while to get HRT, or you don't want HRT, well, here's some things you can do to really get started as far as the long process goes. These are things that just take a bit longer. So I'm going to introduce you to laser hair removal. Laser hair removal is really wonderful. Just bear in mind, there's just clinics just at regular super like malls and stuff, shopping centers, and you just go in, You wait for a sale like everyone else. You buy a bunch of sessions, you do laser hair, and then you have less hair to laser, right? Now, I think whether you do it before or after HRT, negligible. But it'll be a lot less dysphoria when you don't have to shave every day. I know when I started laser hair, it felt really nice to have just some bits feel a bit smoother and have less to shave. It saves you so much time. Time that you keep doing other various things, such as socialization. Now, I think the way socialization is talked about in the trans context can be a little toxic. You might have heard terms such as they lack feminine socialization when being mean to people that transition later in life. Now, here's the thing. Socialization is a thing that occurs over time. So the more time you get to just be a girl, in a sense, the easier it is to be socially perceived as one. It's not something you really learn. You don't really read a bunch of WikiHows and then become a fancy lady or whatever with amazing mannerisms. Because when you search how to be more feminine, this is usually articles aimed at cis girls that feel a bit insecure and are kind of written with the lens of getting a boyfriend. And femininity is more than just that, okay? The way you become a woman is really just being yourself if you identify as one. And talking with other women lets you organically get that socialization you probably would have got if cisgendered, and that's fine. It's okay if the socialization you're given at first doesn't match who you are. That's fine. I know early on for me, I had a little trouble because I felt some ways I was responding or talking about things felt a bit masculine, but that gave me dysphoria. But it felt very inbuilt to me. But as I'm talking with more women, because in high school I pretty much only had women as friends, or trans guys that didn't know they were trans yet, or cis men that didn't know they were trans till later. It's a whole story. It could be a video. But the point is that when you talk with more women, it's easier to relate to the experience of women because you're together. That togetherness that forms the community aspect. Similar to how if you talk to a lot of trans people in a vacuum, we're all going to talk a little similar because you have that shared experience. That's fine. Just bear in mind that as humans, we tend to talk similar to the spaces we put ourselves in. You know the expression, we are what we eat? Well, I guess when you socialize in the right circles, that influences a bit who you are. If you hanged out with hardcore conservatives 24/7, even if you want one, it'd probably influence you to some degree. We're all very easily influenced as people. But the core of who you are remains. So I recommend surrounding yourself in spaces that make you happy and feel good. And everything else will just happen organically. However, it does take time, so I encourage to get to it whenever you feel comfortable to. You don't have to start HRT to start being friends of women. It's fine, it'll happen organically. Yes, certain habits we may have may be similar to the gender we were raised as, but that's what being raised as means. Everything can be undone, it's fine. And you manage to do it in a very yourself way. Unfortunately, there's a little habit where we tend to overcompensate as trans people, where we try to be hyper feminine. Now granted, some people are, and it's fine, right? We all have different degrees of femininity, but we can still be a woman at any degree of that femininity, right? But what happens is from day one, some trans people try to overcompensate. Very common. I did it. So don't worry if you do that. If you feel the need to do that and you want to give it a try, go for it. Just know at the end of the day, you can do what you want. You don't need to prove that you're a real woman by presenting like a real woman, because that leads to stereotypes. Have you seen how cis women dress? Very varied. There's not one way to do it. So ultimately, find the style that makes you the happiest, because that's more important. Your own happiness is way better than achieving society points. Another thing that can help later is learning various skills like hair and makeup. I have separate videos about these, but in a nutshell, the better you get at this, the more comfortable you'll feel using it. That's really it. It's actually really common for cis women that were never taught how to use makeup to have no idea how to use it as an adult. It's very common. So just view it like that. You just weren't given the experience or the chance to practice. So just give it a go, it's fine. It's actually a pretty relatable experience from cis people I've talked to. I remember that when I was in university, there was this one girl that was like, oh, I like how you do your eyeliner and stuff. I wish I knew how to do eyeliner. I wasn't taught as a kid. And I'm like, oh, I learned this 2 years ago. And she was like, wait, really? And I'm like, yeah, you can just do it. So that really opened my perspective. You can just do it, right? Like, it takes practice, especially eyeliner. It took me ages, but you're on YouTube if you're watching this, so you have access to a lot of stuff, either by me or the thousands of other beauty influencers that have a lot of knowledge, to say the least. Speaking of all these things, socialization, makeup, hair, all that kind of stuff, pronouns and names. You know, you can, with a group you trust, use a feminine name or pronoun right away. That's perfectly fine. You can do that. Like, you don't have to get HRT to earn the privilege to do that or whatever. No, just simply put, if you have accepting friends, try to ask to use a pronoun name straight away. Even if it feels like, oh, I'm not feminine enough to use a feminine, it's fine. Look, early in high school, I used a feminine name and pronouns, like very early, like start of high school, right? And that was long before I was presenting femme in public. However, it was really good for me to be viewed and addressed in a feminine way, at least in some social circles. That helps with the socialization. It lets your brain just kind of go, oh, I guess this is like not weird. It's just a thing. Because names and pronouns are just things we say. There's no need to feel shame or guilt or that kind of thing, or feel like you have to reach a certain standard of femininity to be allowed to be referred to that way. Yes, I know maybe like when you use the name, you're going to be like, do I deserve the name? Do I even look like insert name? That kind of thing. It doesn't matter. I promise you. I know what it feels like. When it happened the first few times, I was like, is it really right for me to use this because I don't look the part? It's okay. That's how you become the part. Transition's about expressing who you are on the inside via the outside, right? It's not something where you have to innately be something. Like, for example, I'm fairly tall. I frame these videos in such a way where I look shorter. But the reality is I'm a little taller than other cis women. And when I was growing up, I reached my adult height very fast. Like when I was 13, I was the same height as I am now at 25. So as a result, I noticed a lot of people like, I don't know if you can be a transgender because you're really tall. And like, does that really make sense? Like when you really think about it. Like think of this really literally for a second. Cis women vary in height quite dramatically. And so do trans women. Like we're all different heights. Like I've met trans people that are really short and really tall and in between. The height you start on, or I guess overall my point is, the amount of stereotypical masculinity or femininity that you portray pre-transition doesn't determine how much you deserve or how much you can be transgender. It was easy for me to feel like I wasn't allowed to because I didn't fit stereotypes. And that stereotype, unfortunately, is basically being a really short twig. Not everyone is a really short twig. You don't have to be a tiny ooh-woo boy to be allowed to turn into a girl. Anyone can do it, okay? It's perfectly fine. Like, the stereotypes are so arbitrary and ridiculous at this point. Like, what, you're expected to somehow be an ooh-woo twink that played with dolls the second they, like, became into existence? Yeah. I'm sure most parents would not allow that to occur. That's a thing. A lot of even our early childhood is influenced by people around us, right? What we do and do not have access to. So don't be too hard on yourself if your previous life experience, either childhood, high school, adult life, that kind of thing. Don't be too hard on yourself if you don't feel you're reflecting stereotypes, because like, it doesn't matter. Like, it's about who you are now, and you can express that however you want. That's why I recommend names, pronouns. Try to do your hair up nice, do makeup up nice, all this stuff. And the way you do this is up to you. You don't have to go crazy. Even just a little bit of foundation might be enough for you, and that's cool. Just do what you want. That's the main thing, just do what you want. You can do these things without HRT. HRT is just a part of the process, it's not all the process. HRT is not a prerequisite to live as a woman. The number one thing you can do before HRT is simply be a woman. If that's what you want, that's what you can do. Easier said than done, it's hard. You'll stumble, but that's okay. Like I said, the earth will catch us. We just gotta get back up and try again. Do what you can, stay safe, but also try the things you've always wanted to do. With that said, if you enjoyed this video, I do weekly trans videos. I recently did a video about bottom surgery and a couple of other trans experiences I had, like the first trans people I ever met. So if you want to hear about those, feel free to give those a little click. Be sure to subscribe, hit the funny bell. If you play Fortnite, creator code Princess Lucy. Yes, that's a real creator code. That's all from me. Other than streaming on the weekend. That's the video. If you have any questions about anything transition related, feel free to ask in the comments and I'll help any way I can. With that said, stay hydrated and know that you are valid.